Have you ever wondered how one ancient philosophy could completely transform your life, especially when it comes to resilience, love, and self-growth? What if I told you that the wisdom of a Roman emperor, written nearly 2,000 years ago, still holds the power to unlock the life you've always wanted? Stick around for the next few minutes because in this video, we're diving deep into 70 life lessons from Marcus Aurelius that will dramatically improve your mindset and your relationships. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll not only gain a new perspective, but also a clear path toward personal growth, especially as a woman navigating the complexities of modern life. But before we dive into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to continue sharing these life-changing insights with you. And don't skip out early. What you hear today could very well change your love life and your whole outlook on what it means to truly live. Let's start by thinking about one key question. What is holding you back? Maybe it's stress, maybe it's self-doubt, or perhaps it's something deeper, a sense that you're not living the life you deserve. What if Marcus Aurelius, the last of the 5 good emperors of Rome, could offer you a roadmap out of that rut? Marcus Aurelius wasn't just a ruler, he was a philosopher, an early practitioner of Stoicism, which teaches us to cultivate inner peace through self-discipline, focus, and clarity of thought. His meditations were written not for an audience but for himself, as a personal journal. Yet today, they serve as a guide for anyone looking to overcome life's challenges. And trust me, the Stoic approach isn't just for men. Women today, facing unprecedented pressures, can benefit just as much, if not more, from this timeless wisdom. Let's jump into the first set of life lessons. Lesson 1. Accept what you cannot control. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a relationship where you did everything you could to make things work, yet it still fell apart? You loved deeply, gave your best, and yet, no matter how hard you tried, things just didn't go the way you wanted. It's frustrating, isn't it? But here's something powerful. What if I told you it's not about controlling the outcome, but about controlling your response to it? Marcus Aurelius teaches us a profound lesson here. Accept what you cannot control. Life throws all kinds of situations our way, some beautiful, others heartbreaking. But the secret to peace is not in fighting to control these events. It's about embracing them as they come and focusing on how we respond. In love, we often want to mold the relationship, change our partner, or fix every problem that arises. But ask yourself, how much of that is truly within your control? You can't control whether someone loves you back. You can't control their actions, thoughts, or feelings. But here's what you can control: your reactions, your emotions, and how you choose to move forward. Imagine this: the love of your life decides to walk away. Naturally, it feels like your world is crumbling. But instead of fighting against what you can't change, what if you took a deep breath and accepted the situation? Not in defeat, but in strength. It's in this acceptance that you find peace. Accept that some things aren't meant to last. Accept that you can't control another person's heart. Once you let go of trying to manage every aspect of life, you open yourself up to freedom to grow, to heal, and to move on. Here's a practice for you. The next time you feel overwhelmed by something you can't control, stop for a moment. Ask yourself, is this in my control? If it's not, let it go. Redirect your energy to what you can influence: your thoughts, your emotions, your response. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means understanding what's truly within your power. And that's where you find your inner strength. By letting go of the need to control everything, you give yourself the gift of peace. Lesson 2. The power of perspective. Now, think back to a time when you were heartbroken, when it felt like your world had stopped. Remember how all you could see was the pain, the rejection, the feeling of loss? But here's the thing. What if I told you that your heartbreak, as unbearable as it seemed, was just a moment in the grander scheme of your life? Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. This lesson is about perspective. In the middle of that breakup, you probably felt like nothing else mattered. But if you could zoom out, if you could see your life as a story unfolding, would that moment still carry the same weight? Perspective is everything. Imagine you're holding a small pebble in your hand, and you place it right in front of your eye. That pebble seems huge, doesn't it? It blocks your view of everything else. But if you pull your hand away and hold the pebble at arm's length, it becomes a tiny, insignificant speck in your line of sight. That's what happens when you change your perspective on life's challenges. Think about it. That heartbreak you went through, will it matter in 5 years? Will it define the rest of your life? Most likely, the answer is no. You will move on, grow, and eventually, you'll even be grateful for the lessons it taught you. So why let it consume you now? Marcus Aurelius teaches us to shift our focus in moments of pain or struggle. Instead of being consumed by the challenge, zoom out and ask yourself, will this matter in the long run? It's such a powerful question because it reminds us that most of what feels overwhelming in the moment is temporary. When we broaden our perspective, we regain control over our emotions and our lives. So here's a tip: the next time you're faced with a tough situation, whether it's in love, at work, or in your personal life, ask yourself how much it will matter in the grander scheme of things. Will it shape your entire story, or is it just a chapter? Once you see the bigger picture, you'll find the strength to keep moving forward. Lesson 3. Embrace failure as a teacher. Let's be real, nobody likes to fail. Whether it's in a relationship, a career, or even a personal goal, failure can feel like a punch to the gut. But what if I told you that every failure you've ever faced is actually a stepping stone toward your greatest success? Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that the obstacles you face aren't there to stop you. They're there to guide you toward growth. Think back to a time when you failed. Maybe it was a relationship that didn't work out, a business venture that fell through, or even a personal goal that you didn't achieve. At the time, it probably felt devastating. But looking back, can you see the lessons hidden in that failure? For example, maybe a past relationship taught you what you truly need in a partner. Maybe a failed project showed you what wasn't working, and it pushed you to try something new. Failure isn't the end of the road. It's a detour, redirecting you towards something better. Here's a story. There was a woman who dreamed of starting her own business. She poured her heart and soul into it, but after a year it failed. She felt crushed. But instead of giving up, she took a step back and asked herself, what can I learn from this? She realized she needed to adjust her approach, so she started again. The second time, she succeeded. Today, she runs a thriving business, all because she embraced her failure as a teacher. So, when you face failure, and you will, don't see it as a defeat. Instead, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What did it teach you about yourself? About life? About what you need to change moving forward? Remember, failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of the journey toward it. Marcus Aurelius knew that every setback was an opportunity in disguise. So embrace your failures, learn from them, and use them to propel you toward your greatest successes. Lesson 4, practice gratitude daily. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly appreciated the little things in your life? Not the big, obvious wins, but the small, everyday moments. Marcus Aurelius had a simple practice that he followed every morning. He would remind himself of the things he was grateful for, even when life wasn't going his way. This daily practice of gratitude grounded him, and it can do the same for you. We live in a world where it's easy to focus on what's missing. We scroll through social media and see perfect lives, perfect relationships, and perfect success stories. And suddenly, what we have feels like it's not enough. But here's the secret. Gratitude is the key to happiness. It shifts your focus from what's lacking to what's abundant in your life. Think about your own life. What are 3 things you're grateful for right now? It could be something as simple as a cup of coffee in the morning, a friend who checks in on you, or a quiet moment of peace. When you start to notice the little things, your entire mindset shifts. Instead of feeling like you're always chasing after something, you start to realize that you already have so much. Marcus Aurelius knew this truth. Gratitude is a superpower. When you start your day by focusing on what's good, your perspective on life changes. Suddenly, the stress, the worries, and the challenges don't feel as overwhelming. You're able to approach them with a sense of calm because you're rooted in what's already good. So here's a challenge for you for the next week. Start every day by writing down 3 things you're grateful for. It could be something small, like the sunlight streaming through your window, or something bigger, like a meaningful conversation with a loved one. Watch how this simple practice changes your outlook on life. And remember, the more you focus on what you have, the more you attract positive energy into your life. Gratitude isn't just a feel-good practice, it's a Stoic principle that can transform the way you live. Lesson 5. Control your desires. Don't let them control you. Let's talk about desire for a moment. How many times have you found yourself chasing after something you thought would make you happy? Maybe it was a relationship, a promotion, or even a new material possession. And when you finally got it, did it bring you the happiness you expected? Or did it leave you wanting more? Marcus Aurelius believed that true happiness comes not from getting what we want, but from wanting less. In today's world, that might sound counterintuitive. After all, we're constantly told that we need more success, more love, more stuff. But here's the thing, when we're constantly chasing after the next thing, we're never truly satisfied. We're always looking for the next high. Lesson 6. The importance of self-discipline. Discipline is at the heart of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius believed that without self-control, it's impossible to lead a meaningful life. And discipline isn't just about sticking to a schedule or hitting deadlines, it's about mastering your thoughts and actions. How often do you allow distractions or emotions to dictate your behavior? Maybe you're tempted to stay in a toxic relationship because it's comfortable. Or maybe you procrastinate on your personal goals because you're afraid of failing. Discipline helps you break free from these cycles. Developing self-discipline is about holding yourself accountable. Start small, set one goal and stick to it. Over time, this practice strengthens your willpower, and soon, you'll find yourself making decisions that align with your true purpose. Lesson 7. Understand the value of time. Let me ask you a question. How much time do you think you have left? That's a tough one, right? None of us really know. But here's the thing, most of us live like we have all the time in the world. We procrastinate, we get distracted, and we put off the things that really matter, thinking we can always do them later. Marcus Aurelius had a different view. He said, you could leave life right now? Let that determine what you do and say and think. It's a stark reminder that our time on this planet is limited, and we don't have as much control over it as we'd like to think. When you truly understand the value of time, you stop wasting it. You stop putting off that phone call to a loved one, stop delaying your dreams, and stop letting fear or doubt keep you from taking action. Now, I want you to take a moment and think about a time when you knew you were wasting your time. Maybe it was staying in a toxic relationship longer than you should have. Or maybe it was avoiding something that you really wanted to do because you were scared. We've all been there. But here's the thing, every second that passes is a second you can't get back. Time is the most precious resource we have. And once we realize that, everything changes. Imagine you're in love, and you finally found the person who makes your heart skip a beat. You wouldn't take them for granted, would you? You'd cherish every moment with them because you know how rare and valuable that connection is. That's exactly how Marcus Aurelius wants us to treat time, like it's something precious that deserves to be valued. So how do we stop wasting time and start living with intention? First, get clear on what really matters to you. What are your priorities? Is it spending more time with your family? Is it pursuing a passion project? Is it building a relationship that makes you feel alive? Once you're clear on that, start aligning your time with those values. Don't waste time on things that don't bring you closer to the life you want. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that time is fleeting. We don't know how long we have, so let's make the most of it. Let's live each day like it's a gift, and stop waiting for someday to do the things that really matter. Lesson 8. Forgive others and yourself. Have you ever held on to a grudge for so long that it started to feel like it was part of you? Maybe someone hurt you deeply and you just couldn't let it go. Or maybe you've been beating yourself up for a mistake you made in the past. Something you wish you could go back and change. It's exhausting, isn't it? Marcus Aurelius teaches us the importance of forgiveness, not just forgiving others, but also forgiving ourselves. He wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." When we hold on to anger or resentment, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. The truth is, forgiveness isn't about letting someone off the hook for what they did. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional burden of carrying that hurt. Think about a time when someone wronged you. Maybe it was a betrayal in a relationship or a friend who let you down. At the time, you probably felt justified in holding on to that anger. But over time, did that anger help you or did it weigh you down? Holding on to resentment is like dragging a heavy suitcase through life. It slows you down, saps your energy, and keeps you stuck in the past. Now, let's flip the script. Think about a time when you made a mistake, something you wish you could take back. Maybe you said something hurtful to someone you love. Or maybe you failed at something important. Have you forgiven yourself for that? Often we're much harder on ourselves than we are on others. We carry around guilt and shame, replaying our mistakes over and over in our heads. Marcus Aurelius believed that forgiveness is essential to living a peaceful life. Forgiving others doesn't mean you have to forget what happened or even reconcile with the person who hurt you. It simply means letting go of the emotional baggage so that you can move forward. And forgiving yourself? That's about recognizing that you're human, that you make mistakes and that those mistakes don't define you. Here's a practice for you. Think of one person you need to forgive. Maybe it's someone else, or maybe it's you. Take a deep breath and imagine what it would feel like to release that resentment. Imagine how much lighter you'd feel if you let go of that burden. That's the power of forgiveness. Marcus Aurelius knew that holding on to anger and guilt only holds us back. When we forgive, we set ourselves free. Lesson 9. Live in accordance with nature. When was the last time you stopped to appreciate the world around you? I mean, really stop to feel the breeze on your face? To listen to the birds or to watch the clouds pass by? In our fast-paced modern lives, we often forget that we are part of something much bigger than ourselves. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, often wrote about the importance of living in harmony with nature. But what does that mean in today's world? It doesn't mean you need to go live in the woods or become a hermit. It means understanding that life, like nature, is always changing, and we need to learn to flow with it rather than fight against it. Think about it like this. In nature, everything has its time and place. The seasons change, the tides rise and fall, and nothing stays the same forever. Your life is no different. There are moments of growth, moments of loss, and moments of transition. The key is to stop resisting these changes and start embracing them. Let's take love as an example. Have you ever tried to hold on to a relationship that was clearly past its expiration date? Maybe you were afraid of being alone, or maybe you thought you could somehow fix it. But the more you fought to keep it alive, the more painful it became. That's because you were fighting against the natural flow of life. Just like the seasons, relationships change. Some flourish, some wither, and some need to end so that new growth can occur. Marcus Aurelius would remind us that life is constantly in motion, and we need to learn to adapt. Instead of clinging to what was or worrying about what might be, focus on what is right now. Live in the present moment. Appreciate the beauty in the world around you, and trust that everything is unfolding as it should. Here's a simple practice. The next time you feel stressed or overwhelmed, go outside. Take a walk, sit by the water, or just stand in your backyard and breathe. Let yourself reconnect with nature and remind yourself that you... Lesson 10. Practice humility in all things. Let me ask you something. Do you remember the first time you fell in love? Think back to those early days, the excitement, the butterflies in your stomach, The feeling that you were invincible because you had found something so special. But then, as the relationship progressed, maybe you started to notice small cracks. Maybe you began to take each other for granted. Or perhaps your ego got in the way of really seeing the other person's needs. We've all been there, caught up in our own perspectives, our own desires, forgetting that love isn't about pride or being right. It's about humility. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers and a Roman emperor, understood the importance of humility in all things, including love. He once said, "Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly." This wasn't a gloomy sentiment, it was a reminder to live without arrogance, to treat every moment, every relationship as precious, and to remember that we are all a small part of something much larger. In love, humility means putting your partner's needs alongside your own. It means recognizing that sometimes being right isn't as important as being kind. Think about it. How many times have you let pride get in the way of saying, "I'm sorry," after an argument? Or maybe you've held on to resentment because you wanted your partner to apologize first. What if, instead of waiting for them to make the first move, you took a step back and asked yourself, what would happen if I let go of my pride in this moment? Humility is about understanding that we're all imperfect, our partners, our friends, and yes, even ourselves, and that's okay. Marcus Aurelius teaches us that by embracing humility, we open ourselves up to deeper connections and greater peace. When you let go of the need to always be in control, to always be right, you create space for understanding, forgiveness, and growth. Now think about a time in your love life when you let pride get the best of you. Maybe it was a small argument that escalated because neither of you wanted to back down. Or maybe it was a relationship that could have been saved. If you had been willing to admit your mistakes, how did it feel afterward? Did your pride really make things better? Or did it leave you feeling disconnected and alone? Humility doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. It's about having the strength to be vulnerable, to admit when you're wrong, and to approach life and love with an open heart. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we are all human, and that it's through recognizing our shared humanity that we can find true connection. So, how can you practice humility in your life? Start small. The next time you find yourself in a disagreement with your partner or a friend, ask yourself, is this about being right? Or is this about love? Can you step back and listen to their perspective, even if it's different from your own? Can you put aside your ego for the sake of the relationship? Imagine how much stronger your relationships would be if you approached every interaction with humility. Think about the love that would flourish if you let go of the need to always be in control and instead focused on nurturing the bond you share. Marcus Aurelius knew that true power comes not from dominating others, but from mastering yourself. And one of the greatest forms of self-mastery is the ability to be humble, to recognize that we are all learning, all growing, and all deserving of compassion. Here's something to try the next time you're with someone you love, whether it's your partner, a family member, or a friend. Practice humility. Ask them about their day, their thoughts, their feelings, and really listen. Don't interrupt, don't try to offer advice, just listen with an open heart. You might be surprised at how much deeper your connection becomes when you put your own ego aside and make space for them. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that life is short, and we are all here to learn from one another. In love and in life, practicing humility allows us to see the beauty in others, to connect with them on a deeper level, and to create relationships built on trust, respect, and understanding. So, as you move forward in your relationships, ask yourself, how can I be more humble today? It's not about lowering yourself, it's about lifting others up. And in doing so, you create a life filled with more love, more peace, and more joy. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.